Well, we have a paper expert with us today. Anthony Grinnell joins us from Coordinations with a very, very unique cardstock. He's going to tell us all about it, but just look at this project, and there's some really unique aspects to this cardstock that's just totally different from some of the others that we've seen in the past.
Yeah, that's right, Julie. The most unique aspect of the cardstock is that it's a dyed core cardstock, meaning it has color throughout the entire sheet. There's no white core, and it's sandable.
Wow.
So,
that is pretty cool.
Yeah, we'll demonstrate that here. We'll pick out a piece of paper from the vintage collection.
That is beautiful.
We'll start out with that as a base sheet.
Mm-hmm. And you're actually the genius who invented this. Is that correct? Did I have that right?
Genius may be a stretch, but yes, I did invent the product line. So we're going to start out with this as our base sheet. Now we're going to take this piece of paper, and we're going to use a 150 grit sandpaper, and we're just going to sand around the edges.
Okay.
Okay? And you can see when you sand it, the purple color shows through.
Oh, so it's white on top, but you've got a color on the inside,
exactly,
a color core.
Exactly. And we're using the Dust Buddy here to wipe the dust off of the sheet.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
And I'll give you the base sheet.
Let me take
this. Let me wipe that off for you.
There we go.
Okay. And here is what it's going to look like after it's finished. You can see the purple edges around the edge of the cardstock.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll just place that on the sheet over here.
Okay.
Okay. And next, we are going to take this sheet of cardstock, just a regular sheet of cardstock, about 4 inches by 12 inches, and we're going to place
and just lay that right on top. Okay.
Now we're going to get into some fun techniques. We're going to take an embossing folder, and you can use this with any embossing machine, and we're going to emboss and deboss 2 sheets of paper.
Okay.
So you just simply put it in the folder, run it through the embossing machine, take it out, take your 150 grit sandpaper, sand it on the side that you want to expose the core color on. And you can see as I'm sanding it, the purple color shows through.
Oh, it just appears like magic.
And it coordinates perfectly with the outer color on the cardstock.
And then just remove the dust. That's perfect. That's wonderful. Now, on the deboss side, is that the similar type of thing? You just did it on the other side?
Exactly. It's the same thing. All we've done for the embossing, we did it this way. All you're going to do is take your embossing folder, flip it over, stick it in, run it through the embossing machine. It comes out.
Do it on the other side.
Exactly. And you want to sand, this time you want to sand the deboss side, meaning the impression that you want to sand is down in the paper
going
rather
down
than up.
instead of rather being raised.
Exactly. So once again, you can see the color showing through the paper as you sand it.
That is so, so cool. Now you're using purple, and it's got a light purple color on the inside, but are there other color combinations?
There are very many color combinations. Actually, this particular product line has a lighter core, so it matches the outside color, but we have other collections that have different core colors compared to the outside sheet, which we'll get to in a little bit. But you can see the 2 different looks from the embossing and debossing. You can see here on the embossing we sanded the flowers, and the purple color shows only on the flowers, the lighter purple color.
Right.
The debossing, the darker purple stays in the depressed section, the deboss section.
So it looks like shadow. That's great. Okay, now there's another technique on that page that you were going to show us?
Yes. This is one of my favorite techniques. What we've done here is we've taped some random chipboard letters to spell cute. And you can use anything that has a shape that has edges. Place it under the cardstock, take your sandpaper again, and when you sand it,
then it appears like
the letters
magic.
show through.
Because the sanding is actually taking the color off the top, and it exposes the color that's in the middle of the paper.
Exactly, exactly.
Cool.
So your finished piece is going to look like that.
All right, well, let's place that right over here.
Sure, we need to tear this first.
Oh, that's right, one more step.
Yep. So tearing also exposes the edge color. I have that taped, so it's a little bit difficult, but you can see when you tear it, you get that purple edge that also matches the piece that you've just sanded.
Right.
So
that's great. That looks so cool. And then we'll add our photos.
So now this photo has been matted with the same color that we used here. And we'll just place that picture.
All right, let me move that over just a little bit, just a tad. There we go.
That goes there.
Very, very cool. Now there are lots of other techniques I know that you can do with this unique paper.
Very many other techniques.
Shall we go through all those?
Sure, I'd love to.
All right, let me just move these out of the way. Okay, so this is your technique board with a sample, and then this is the page using that technique.
Yeah, two of the fundamental techniques are sanding and tearing, which we did a little bit of in the project. This is a little bit more of an elaborate layout here, but you can see that the letters were die cut and sanded, and it matches with this torn piece up here from the vintage
Right,
torn edges
and I
here.
love this. Here you've got the brown, but on the inside it's green.
Exactly, yes.
That's great. Antiquing and edge distressing.
For this technique, you simply take a piece of cardstock, crumple it up, and lay it on the table, sand it, and the crinkle marks show through.
So all the wrinkles, that's
exactly.
cool.
Yep. So you can see on this layout here, and depending on what look you're going for, you can crinkle it more or less. This one has a little bit less antiquing than this sample on the board.
Well, on paper, wrinkles look good, right?
Yes,
but
do.
only on paper.
Yes.
And on this, we have the torn edges or antiquing, or is that edge distressing?
Yes, this is a great example of edge distressing and a combination of tearing. But you can see how these edges are distressed, and because it's a different color on the back, when you edge distress it, you can make it coordinate with the sanded areas on the paper. So you can see the little orange pieces that curl up when you edge distress it.
Right, so it's cream on the outside and the orange in the center.
Exactly.
This is so cool. You really are a genius, Anthony, I have to say.
Thank
now,
you.
this is outlining and scoring.
Outlining, again, as we did in the project, we just placed random chipboard letters. So if you have leftover chipboard letters, acrylic, any shapes that you have left over, it doesn't matter if they match or not, just simply place them under the cardstock. You can use them to create titles, create shapes in your projects.
Very, very cool. And then this is scoring on the lines.
We've just used a straight edge here, placed it under the paper, and you can see, you can make lines there. You can use it to underscore titles, to highlight titles.
That's wonderful. I love this. And the emboss and the deboss, we actually did that on the project, but then there's some embossing on this project too.
Yeah, this is a great example of the embossing. Several different colors were used. Again, a lot of browns on this layout. But this is a great example of how different the embossing and debossing samples give you. So if you want, again, to highlight the embossed part and sand it, you get a completely different look than if you deboss
and then
it.
just very quickly, I know that you explained to me earlier that you actually used a stencil and scratched away the surface with a craft knife to get this look here.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite techniques. Stenciling here, we just simply took an acrylic shape, sanded around it, so we left the black in the middle. And this part we used an X-Acto knife and just lightly scored the paper so to break the surface, and then you can peel up the color to reveal the core color.
Anthony, thank you so much.
You're
These
very
are
welcome.
great techniques. We can't wait to try them, I promise you. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.